Are you ready? It's time. The inaugural Urban NerdCon is coming to Montgomery, Alabama, July 29th through the 31st. Blurs, nerds, and geeks from across the universe will converge on the capital city to see celebrity guests such as The Last Dragon, Tybok, Megan Tandy, and voice actor Dave Fennoy.
Hey, how you doing? I'm voice actor Dave Fennoy with a shout out to all my geeks, freaks, and urban nerds. Just want to let you know I'm going to be there and I want to meet you at the Urban NerdCon Gaming and Cosplay event. It's happening July 29th through the 31st in Montgomery, Alabama. Hope you want to meet me as much as I want to meet you.
So join us by visiting theurbannerdcon.net for ticket and vendor information. This will be the premier Blurred event in the universe. Theurbannerdcon.net. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
That's a pretty tight spot.
Watch this.
Of course your Buick parks itself. That's so you.
It's just up here on the right.
Of course you know where we're going. That's so you.
Kinda got a sixth sense.
And a head-up display.
They're here.
Hit the field, warm up. You brought all these players in your Buick?
Yeah,
So you.
it is.
There's a Buick that fits your life, because at the heart of every Buick SUV is you.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplify Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplify Development Services.
The new GMC Sierra with hands-free driving offers the most advanced and luxurious pickup in its class. Yeah, it rocks.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
carriers will give you just one measly entertainment subscription. One is no fun. With Verizon, there's up to 7 entertainment subscriptions with your unlimited plan. That's 7 times the... 7 times the... No! 7 times the... Music, gaming, Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus, and more. That's 7 times the entertainment! Because everyone deserves better. And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
For 5-star backyards, Yellowwood brand pressure-treated pine. If it doesn't have this yellow tag, you don't want it.
Are you ready? It's time. The inaugural Urban NerdCon is coming to Montgomery, Alabama, July 29th through the 31st. Blurs, nerds, and geeks from across the universe will converge on the capital city to see celebrity guests such as The Last Dragon, Timok, Megan Tandy, and voice actor Dave Fennoy.
Hey, how you doing? I'm voice actor Dave Fennoy with a shout out to all my geeks, freaks, and urban nerds. Just want to let you know I'm going to be there and I want to meet you at the Urban NerdCon Gaming and Cosplay event. It's happening July 29th through the 31st in Montgomery, Alabama. Hope you want to meet me as much as I want to meet you.
So join us by visiting theurbannerdcon.net for ticket and vendor information. This will be the premier Blurred event in the universe. TheUrbanNerdCon.net. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
That's a pretty tight spot.
Watch this.
Of course your Buick parks itself. That's so you.
It's just up here on the right.
Of course you know where we're going. That's so you.
Kind of got a 6th sense.
And a head-up display.
They're here.
Hit the field, warm up. You brought all these players in your Buick?
Yeah,
So you.
it is.
There's a Buick that fits your life because at the heart of every Buick SUV is you.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplified Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplified Development Services.
The new GMC Sierra with hands-free driving offers the most advanced and luxurious pickup in its class. Yeah, it rocks.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Coles Brown, joined in hour number one by the head baseball coach at the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, Coach Carlos James. Coach, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. You're sitting as a guest co-host, but I think it's in capable hands. Normally, Charles Edmond is joining me, but he's calling the action right now between Southern University and FAMU in the SWAC
Yeah.
baseball tournament. So, with that being said, Coach, I'm gonna give everyone the guest menu, and we'll get right into a lot of discussion about the SWAC baseball tournament championship 2022. Of course, Coach Carlos James in today's guest menu, Bryan Fulford of the OG Strike Zone, co-host. He'll join me as well in hour number two. Coach Vann Pettaway. Of course, we're going to talk some NBA playoffs. Whew. Boy, it has been just a fantastic playoffs, down to the final four, and actually now going to be the final two after Sunday. AD Drew and Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, AD Drew of Black College Sports Rap, and Dr. Kenyatta Cavill of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab will give us a live report from the 2022 Southwestern Athletic Conference Baseball Championship, which resides this year in Birmingham. So that's the guest menu. Coach James, it has been a very, very interesting 2022 SWAC Baseball Tournament Championship. What is your initial thoughts on the baseball tournament so far?
The East is a beast. East,
I have that in my notes.
Yeah, the East is taking over as the toughest side now. With the addition of Bethune and Florida A&M. I mean, it's three East teams left, and Southern is the only team on the West kind of holding it down for us.
Yeah, and as we speak, I'm kind of monitoring the game. I think it looks like someone just went yard, maybe for Southern University. So I'm going to try to, keep abreast of what's going on. But the last time I looked, it was 4-4, Southern and FAMU. But Coach, a lot of things to discuss. I've made a bunch of notes. Of course, the weather delay played a big part early on in the tournament. Coach Kadar is the analyst for the SWAC baseball tournament, and I tell you what, I've enjoyed it. Just a walking encyclopedia history. Very funny as far as what he adds to the broadcast. Low scoring games, a lot of one-run games in the first day. And what can you say? The heart of a champion. Never underestimate the heart of a champion. Southern University with two come from behind victories, one against JSU and FAMU. I'll stop right there, but just what I've in my notes, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, Southern has that championship pedigree. I mean, and it's more recent than anything. Yeah, we know the history of Southern, with the 26, 27 SWAC championships, but it's been more recent lately with the groups that's won the last two, and you got a lot of those guys that's still on that roster that understands when tournament time comes, they know how to step it up, and I think it's less pressure on them as well because you kind of playing with house money. They've won the last two, so it's like the pressure's on everybody else, and they seem to respond, because one thing about Southern, they're not gonna ever quit. They're gonna always play to the end, and it's been showing their experience on the diamond has shown a lot, and they've been getting really good starting pitching.
Well, we're going to talk about pitching as well. In my notes, I got quality versus quantity. Sometimes you need both. But I did have the East teams very strong in the tournament, as you alluded to. Southern University has two victories, being from the Western Division. Also, I'm missing someone else. I believe Prairie View got a victory, but they're eliminated. But Coach Jackson State, what a run last year, and then they get to the tournament, they go undefeated. Then Southern defeats them. They come from behind. Southern University comes from behind to defeat them day one, and then Prairie View, yeah, that was the victory over Jackson State 6-3. I'm hearing some of the Jackson State alums are kind of grumbling a little bit, but I say Coach Omar gets a pass. He really does, because you look at his pedigree and what he's done. But Jackson State 0-2 doesn't it doesn't feel well, I guess, for the Jackson State alum.
Well, one thing about it, people got to understand Jackson State was missing two key players all year. And then, you replaced some guys from last year too that left. They had some key guys that graduated last year. Then also you got to understand again what we talked about. The East is a lot better than it was last year with the addition of Bethune and Florida A&M. And then the other thing I would caution Jackson is remember Kamaji. Remember Kamaji. Omar has done a great job with that program. Don't get caught up in the Coach Prime hype and do something stupid, because you got a really good coach that just had a down year, and he's owed that. I mean, Omar does a great job with that program, and you'll see Jackson rebound next year. I can guarantee you they'll be in the top two next year.
Coach, I would have to agree with that. And you bring up Coach Comage, yeah, former head football coach at Jackson State University. But the East is very strong. And talking to my colleague Charles Bishop of the pregame show, he talked about the injuries and that really affected Jackson State. So once again, I he I shouldn't even have to say he deserves another chance. What he has done, it's in the right, it's going in the right direction. I agree with you, Coach. Coach Omar will have it. Um, he will have the situation corrected ASAP. Um, the impact of Bethune Cookman and FAMU. We kind of talked about it all season, before the season, what the impact would be now in the SWAC baseball tournament, and plus in the regular season, but especially in this tournament, you can see the impact, Coach. They bring both teams bring great programs to this conference, and made the baseball conference aspect much stronger.
Yeah, but with those two teams, the thing that jumps out to me is pitching. I think they have the
Mhm.
deeper pitching roster than anybody in the SWAC, and I think that's from playing in the MEAC and being in on that East Coast. Where you got a lot of guys that pitch in Florida and that area. They're deeper pitching wise than most people are in our conference.
Yeah, pitching wise, and I would agree with you on that, Coach. Now we down to basically the final uh, four per se in the SWAC baseball tournament. Both FAMU and Bethune Cookman, they have to win twice, and right now it's what, 4-4, top of the seventh. FAMU has base runners on first and third, but you talked about the pitching, so the advantage would be to the teams that have the, the most the better pitching, and the amount of pitchers uh, going into today and the championship games. Southern, FAMU, Alabama State, and Bethune Cookman. Their pitching has really been the helpful thing for them going into this tournament.
Right, right. Right now I would give FAMU the nod right now over Southern with the pitching. You know, usually in the SWAC, I've always alluded to, most teams has one and a half good pitchers, good starting pitchers. Southern has gotten two really good starts, but they had some come from behind wins, so they've had to use some guys, which would give FAMU the nod. Today, I would say Southern has to win this game because
Hmm.
if they don't, it may be trouble. It may be a free for all in the next game. And then as far as that other game between Alabama State and Bethune-Cookman, I would say the same thing. I think Alabama State has to win game one because if you get to game two, I think Bethune has a little bit better pitching left, and then you'll see a FAMU Bethune-Cookman championship game, and I don't think too many people in the SWAC want to see that in the first year.
And speaking of that, boy, Southern gets out of a jam. They turn a double play to end the inning, and still 4-4. And you know that's interesting, Coach, that you talk about the pitching and the advantage and the depth. It's kind of equivalent to if I could bring in the NBA playoffs. It's a game six situation, and
Right,
you can close it out and win it. But if you don't, then it goes to
right,
game seven, and then all bets are off. Boy, maybe
right.
that's a good sign for the Miami Heat there. But that pitching, you're absolutely right. And then even we've talked over the years, Coach. Even when you go into regional play, but let's just back up to the SWAC tournament. Low scoring
Mhm.
games, but Coach Kadar and Charles made a great point of talking about in game one you're throwing your Friday night starters. But then after that, and Charles talked about he thought the games would be really high scoring overall, but that has not been the case.
Except for yesterday evening. When you had, I think FAMU beat Prairie View 17-1.
1,
Uh,
and Grambling
Bethune beat
lost.
19-0. That again, that shows you the depth of pitching that those two teams bring to the conference. That you'll probably start to see. Hopefully, the other teams in our conference start to try to get deeper in the pitching as well.
And as far as recruiting, you're going to see not that hasn't been the case, but going forward, y- y- how do you put more emphasis on the pitching, or that's just part of the overall needs that you have to recruit
Yeah,
for?
well, what I've seen in the conference is the SWAC is more of an offensive conference as opposed to what the MEAC did or was doing. So you tend to have just say a 35-man roster. Most SWAC schools have 20 position players. They want to go for the offense and win, and then you probably got 15 pitchers where only 8 of those are good, decent. I think you'll start to see a change where just like in our program, if we can get to fully funded, what we plan to do is go to 13 position players and 21 pitchers, so that we can have that pitching depth. And I really see the other schools in our conference that are fully funded starting to make that change as well, because of tournament and mid games. Hey, let's go to 14 position guys, um, and then have 21, 22 pitchers. And then can
That's
get a good 12 out of that bunch of 22.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Not that you guys don't have pressure on you, but I understand what you're saying. Fully funded, the resources, and speaking of the resources, since the last time we talked, and I we were still on the baseball
Hmm.
conversation. Um, it was relayed that the SWAC baseball tournament for 2023 is going back to New Orleans. And basically, Charles Edmond said that it was they've got some commitments from the Major League Baseball and to give some upgrades to the stadium. But I think the main concern was the dugouts. But how does Coach James feel about the tournament going back to New Orleans for next year?
Well, as you can see right now, if you watch the games on the SWAC digital network, there's not a lot of people in the stands. I mean, or if it is, that stadium is engulfing them to where it looks like nobody's there. Um, Whereas at New Orleans, it was the perfect setup, um, for our fans, and I think it was geographically, it helped everyone to be able to get there, and we had better crowds at New Orleans, and plus New Orleans is more of a vacation destination, so to speak. You're talking after the school year, right before summer, right before Memorial Day. Now you'll get, the SWAC tournament in New Orleans. I think you have a pretty, a really good crowd there, and then that bodes well for when you're showing it on television, to be able to help our brand more.
So, Coach, you would say kind of disappointed in the attendance so
Yeah,
far in the tournament. Yeah,
yeah,
and and one of the other points, Coach, was that Charles made. Charles, and I'm talking about Charles Edmond, was that I guess the Council of Presidents, they kind of like, they're at this point where they like the games to be played in a semi-pro facility. But to your point, yeah, I think New Orleans is more of a fan friendly, as far as attendance wise with the tournament. Hell, even Baton Rouge was an outstanding place to, just for
correct.
as the ambience and the atmosphere. Um, New Orleans, will it be long term? You think short term, or it's too early to tell?
I think from what my dealings with Dr. McClellan in the SWAC office, he's looking for a long-term solution. We're talking 10 years. So
Mhm.
I think if they can make the improvements to the dugouts, and some other little small improvements to the stadium that can accommodate us, I would say, yeah, we would probably be there for the next 10 years at least.
That's interesting. And
Yeah.
what would Major League Baseball, their input into this tournament situation back in New Orleans?
Well, one thing about that is the Players Alliance has gotten involved in Black college baseball, and so has Major League Baseball. So I think with those new partnerships now, I think that opened that door for New Orleans to kind of come back into play, for a SWAC tournament. So um, I think it's a good thing. I really do. I mean, because surely our programs need the help, and we need that affiliation with Major League Baseball and the Players Alliance. So I think it's a win-win for all of us, and then again, it's a win-win for our fans, because again, New Orleans is a place that is for I would say at least 10 of the schools. It's an easier place to get to, and then they got a nice airport and things like that. So the other schools shouldn't have any problem as well. So I think it'll be a good long term situation.
Visiting with Coach Carlos James, head baseball coach at the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. Um, Scoring update, game update, bottom of the seventh. Southern University has a 1 point lead over FAMU, 5-4. No outs. Have a base runner on second base. Coach, I think this is going to come down to to the ninth inning. I really don't believe 5 runs or 4 runs. 5 runs is enough. The way these two teams have battled since yesterday and then today. What do you think?
Yeah.
5 runs doesn't get it.
Well, it don't matter. Just if Southern has to score one more run than FAMU, or if not, it's gonna be tough this evening. I mean, it's gonna be a tough turnaround for them this evening, because again, I really feel that FAMU has the advantage pitching wise, uh,
Yeah.
going forward, and I think they really have to do whatever it takes to win this game today.
Yeah, Southern gets a base hit, and now a runner at third, first and third, I believe, and still no outs. Gotta push those runs across the plate whenever you can. Coach, we're gonna
You need
take a time. Go ahead, Coach. Go ahead.
Yeah, you need those insurance runs, and then you also got to understand, Coach Crenshaw is a pitcher himself, and I'm telling you, he's fully aware of what his pitching depth is, and the more runs he can push across, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a starter come back to close the game out if he has to.
Hmm. Well, coach, you're a coach. You have the baseball knowledge. And that's going to be pretty interesting as, yeah, FAMU, the uh, coach is out for FAMU at the mound. I guess they're talking about their next move or if they're going to just kind of calm him down maybe or getting the bullpen some more time to warm up. Coach, I'm going to take a timeout. When I come back, Bryan Fulford scheduled to join the Coles Brown Show for the first time. He's co-host of the OG Strike Zone. He's a FAMU graduate, coach, and oh boy, that ball game yesterday, Southern down 7-0. It looked bleak. It really did. But then I had to think about it. When you're talking about Southern University, you can always, Southern's going to always battle to the end. No lead, it's safe. But we'll see how Bryan is feeling. And, coach, let him have it if you want to. You got my permission. We'll take a timeout. You're
Okay.
watching the Carlos Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be right back.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Some carriers will give you just one measly entertainment subscription. One is no fun. With Verizon, there's up to 7 entertainment subscriptions with your unlimited plan. That's 7 times the... 7 times the... No! 7 times the... Music, gaming, Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus, and more. That's 7 times the entertainment! Because everyone deserves better. And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
For 5-star backyards, Yellowwood brand pressure-treated pine. If it doesn't have this yellow tag, you don't want it.
Are you ready? It's time. The inaugural Urban NerdCon is coming to Montgomery, Alabama, July 29th through the 31st. Blurs, nerds, and geeks from across the universe will converge on the capital city to see celebrity guests such as The Last Dragon, Tybok, Megan Tandy, and voice actor Dave Fennoy.
Hey, how you doing? I'm voice actor Dave Fennoy with a shout out to all my geeks, freaks, and urban nerds. Just want to let you know I'm going to be there and I want to meet you at the Urban NerdCon Gaming and Cosplay event. It's happening July 29th through the 31st in Montgomery, Alabama. Hope you want to meet me as much as I want to meet you.
So join us by visiting theurbannerdcon.net for ticket and vendor information. This will be the premier blurred event in the universe. Theurbannerdcon.net. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
Oh boy, that's one of the sweetest sounds on earth. The human jukebox. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Carlos Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network, joined by Coach Carlos James, head baseball coach at the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, and the guy who's kind of have that smirk on his face, Bryan Fulford, co-host of the OG Strike Zone. Good morning, Bryan. Good morning, Coach James. Welcome back.
Good morning, Carlos, or afternoon. Good morning, afternoon, Coach James. Good to see you guys. I was having a good morning until we got to the bottom of the seventh inning here, and now it's turned into a bad afternoon. That's what's happening right now.
Well, Southern's up 6-4 now in the bottom of the seventh, but as Coach James said, FAMU has the pitching advantage and the depth. I'm still nervous. 6-4, no lead is safe. Southern has to garner some more runs, but Bryan, already FAMU and Southern, a lot of good competition between these two baseball programs. And yesterday I had to call you. Man, FAMU's up 7-0. It looked bleak, and Southern University, I think I tweeted, never underestimate the heart of a champion. And they were able to come back. Boy, but what a ball game. I think, guys, this is the start of a nice competitive rivalry as far as baseball, Southern and FAMU. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's a shame that we don't have an opportunity to see these teams during the regular season, the way that the scheduling is set up in the SWAC for baseball, and hopefully enough coaches will be behind it. I'm curious to hear what Coach James thinks about not being able to play more. Let me see, Coach, you're in the West, so being able to play some of the teams now in the East. That's what I found interesting about going into the tournament on day one. The fact that you had four, top four from the East, top four from the West that really hadn't really seen each other, maybe except for a preseason or early season contest that was at the beginning of the year. And then you also had the three of the top four pitching staffs going up against three of the four top hitting lineups. And, we saw on day one, and actually here in the Final Four so far, the East, which had the top pitching staffs, seem to have gotten to the Final Four. Now, that doesn't mean they will win, because obviously if Southern wins today, they advance to the championship. But I heard Coach talk about this earlier, I think, in the earlier segment, or maybe it was Coach Cater, but pitching is so important. And that's what that's what we've seen. And that's why I felt optimistic about FAMU's chances. Now, I will say this, Carlos. I hear you, and I even heard Coach Cater talk about this, about how Southern has this, you can't count them out, and they just rally. They find a way. Well, I think watching FAMU baseball is not for the weak-hearted, because I have seen, and a couple other guys have pointed this out to me, we have a habit in the middle innings of just kind of making plays that are head-scratchers. And we've had, if you watch every game that FAMU has played, including this one now, the middle innings just is something. Whether it's, like Coach Kadar pointed out, which I thought was one of the great analysis tips I've ever heard. When our pitcher throws over the first with a catcher, I think it was Porter, the catcher from Southern, is on first. We're up 7-0. The catcher gets on first base. And for some reason, the pitcher is throwing over to first as if he's going to steal. And you can hear the laughter in Coach Cater's voice. He's like, why are you throwing over there to the catcher? He's not running. And what happens? He throws that ball. It gets away. All of a sudden, it just jump starts. It's like this little snowball that just goes rolling down the hill. We give up 5 runs, 2 unearned. And, but just plays like that, that's what's so frustrating about this team this year. A good team, but they just have these moments where they kind of have what I like to call brain farts, and it's frustrating. So that's what we've been dealing with this year. But I don't know. Down 2 with top of the 8th coming up. We got a chance, Carlos. We got a chance.
6 outs away for Southern University. But Coach, speak to that point. Fundamentals, no matter what sport, is still very important. Mental errors, of course, but he talked about in his first point, Brian did, about seeing more competition during the regular season between the Eastern and Western Division. And we've talked about that before, Coach. But from your point of view, how could we see more of this, or should we see more of uh, interdivisional play during the regular season?
Well, we talked about this before. That's one thing that will happen eventually. That's something that all the coaches do want. We come and football, basketball comes first, and once we can get those sports back on solid ground, and we can get some normalcy back, and we get some money back flowing through our campuses, then you'll probably start to see us play everybody, or we come up with some type of rotating schedule where we may play, two of the schools one year or three of the schools one year and three the next year, and just kind of rotate them off. But there are discussions to play everybody. Everybody wants to play everybody because of that particular reason. When you get to the tournament, you have no idea about your opponents on the other side. So, and we also think that it'll make our conference a lot stronger too by playing, all the schools. But right now, it's just a financial thing, and I think, give it a couple of years where we can get, this COVID behind us, and football starts to get on the solid ground, and basketball, and then you should see all the SWAC schools probably playing each other at some point.
When you say because of the financial reason, of course, but when it moves forward, will geographical geography play a small part, or a big part? Because Southern and Jackson in different divisions, you know, and in the past they've played, but it's like a 2.5 hour drive. So will
Right.
geographics geography play a part in this decision making in the future?
Yes. 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 And then you'll try to keep some rivalries, or start some rivalries too. The all. And then you got to think about the scheduling. The main thing you got to think about is, how do you schedule your Texas schools versus your Florida schools on a yearly basis? Do you go into Florida once, as a Texas school, and play both, or do you home and home that year, or do you skip every other year? Because that's going to be a big financial burden on those four schools, trying to get from Florida to Houston and Houston to Florida. I think the other schools, we should be okay. Well, it may be a
Mhm.
longer trip for us as well, but I think those are the things. The logistics has to be worked out as well, because there again, that goes back to your finances. And then we are. It's not like basketball where you play one game and you can play like FAMU on that side, and then you got a day off and you play the other one. We're there for 3 days, and then if we have to go and play Bethune, now you're talking about a whole week. That you got a school out there, and just to be honest with you, you're talking about probably a $15,000 trip. And that's just on the
Hmm.
bus you know. So those are things that we have to work out, going forward, so that we can show the presidents and the ads, is it going to be economical to be able to do that on a yearly basis, to play everyone, or do we rotate them off? Sort of like what the SEC does. You may play this year. I may play Bethune, Jackson, and A&M, and then the next year I may play Valley, FAMU, and the other schools, that's left. So that may be a better scenario.
Yeah, Brian, I think that may be the way they lean as far as
Let
doing
me
it
ask
that way.
this. Let me ask this, Carlos, or even Coach. What do you guys do? Do we like the format of the two divisions? I think sometimes when you have 12 teams, is it advantageous to do East and West? Would it be better to do a more round robin, open style, and then it would open up to be able to? Because I was thinking, like right now, you guys, everybody plays 3 home, 3 away. I'm gonna try to do the math here. That's 6 times 5. That's 30 games right there. So how would you, I don't know if that's the mandate or the for conferences 30, but if it is, then you're trying to figure out how to add or tweak the scheduling. So it makes me think, why do divisions? Maybe we just do, 1 to
Hmm.
12, best 8 teams get to go to tournament, or hey, here's a concept. Maybe everybody gets to go to the tournament and you just do it that way. I don't know.
Well,
Well,
there's been discussion on that having, just one, no divisions, and that would come with being able to play teams from the other side. The only screaming thing you're going to get when you do that, if you do it on a rotating schedule basis, where you can't, I don't see us having been able to play everybody soon, but you may have a rotating deal. But the thing is, a lot of schools going to cry because what if this year I pull Bethune and Alabama State and Jackson, and then my other opponent in my conference is pulling Valley, A&M, and FAMU. So now, yeah, we all playing against each other, but my schedule is a lot tougher. You know, Given the fact that I still have to play Southern, Grambling, and those schools like that. So those are some things that we have to work out going forward. But there has definitely been discussions on those things, having one conference, no divisions, also going to a 10-team tournament as well.
hmm.
I would almost promise you next year it'll probably be a 10-team tournament next year.
Oh,
Wow.
This year
Wait.
it was a little bit too soon to do it this year, but you probably get a 10-team tournament next year.
Wow. That's very
who would get the
interesting.
buy?
Yeah,
Who would get the buy?
the ones the ones
Okay.
would get the bye, and
Hmm.
which that sets it up to have your better teams be able to get to the tournament as well. Because they've earned that over now it's 15-week period that they're going to be able to have that bye, that opening round.
Wow. I like that, Coach. That's kind of the
Yeah,
first time I'm hearing this. I really like that. So if it was implemented this year, it would be what, Alabama State and Southern with the bye because they won the division.
correct, correct,
Hmm.
correct. And then the other thing is you got to understand too, when you're talking about a city hosting a tournament, the more teams, the better.
Yeah.
The more teams you
Right.
have, that's the more selling points that you got. I don't see us going to 12. I really don't. But 10, I can probably bet you my last $2 that we'll probably go to 10.
Not your last two. Your
I like
last
those kind of
2,000.
guarantees. I like those kind of guarantees, Carlos. Hey, that's tough.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get ready for New Orleans next year. Let's go.
yeah,
Well, and that's interesting because Coach James also talked about. I asked him the question because I didn't know the longevity or how long would it be in New Orleans. Coach James seems to think that it's a possibility. It could be long term because switching it every 3 or 4 years. You're having some parts of the conference fan base. They like Louisiana, Jackson, centrally located. So being in one spot, wherever it is, and being there a while, I think that's a great thing, guys.
yeah. And then you gotta
Yeah.
understand, New Orleans is a destination place.
Good
It's a
point.
destination. Birmingham is not a destination place. Not for us. Maybe for the SEC, but not for us. Our people, they want to go down to New Orleans, go down on Bourbon Street. You got cigars, you got martinis and all that, and then it's after. Again, we talked about it. It's after the school year. It's like a vacation. So I can see us landing there and being there for a while, and then the fan support. We've had way better fan support in New Orleans than we've had probably anywhere other than maybe our own campus site.
Yeah. And then you're talking about New Orleans, of course. Then, the spillover, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, those areas, Coach, you can just think about the food, Bryan. Although I don't eat crawfish, you're looking at all the delicacies. Beignets in the morning, po' boys. I could go on and on. So I'll stop right there.
Where is the
Go ahead.
ballpark in relation to all that wonderful food and frolicking festivities that you guys just talked about? How far away is the stadium? I need to know. I need to know. Do I need to bring a bike, one of the motorized scooter carts, or do I need to get my
Uber,
rating up? Uber, okay.
just Uber, ride the bus. Most teams stay in pretty good areas where you can get. My team, we can stay downtown. So and then downtown is probably about 12 minutes. Without a lot of traffic. About 12 minutes. At the most, it's going to be 25, 30 minutes to get from downtown. But most teams stay in really good areas. The food is good. The only thing that the drawback to New Orleans for the teams and the schools are, everything is kind of hard to get to for its feeding, food wise, because you got to go so many different places. It's a big city. It's a hustle and bustle, and everything's expensive too. So that may be the only thing. But if again the Major League Baseball and the Players Alliance gets involved, and we can get some deals on some hotels and some things like that, I think New Orleans would be a great place uh, to stay.
Well, I think these are some of the things you start working on now. You know, you can
Right.
have a consultant from the SWAC's office. I'm sure Roger Cador could help in that situation, being an ambassador to the state of Louisiana. That's what I call him. And if you hear him on the broadcast, it comes out. He's an ambassador. I think he can help out with a lot of that. Bryan, 6-4, the bottom of the eighth. One out.
Yeah,
Let's say
yeah.
Southern's at bat. No men on base. Man, I tell you, it's gonna go to the end of the game, I believe.
Well, we've left we left another runner on in scoring position on third. That brings the total, as I'm looking at the stats, to 8. So we've left 8 runners on base. Southern's only left 4, and I'm looking at that. We've 11 hits, 8 runners on, missed opportunities. I mean, credit to Southern, they turned a couple double plays. I mean, but man, those missed opportunities, they come back to bite you when you kind of do the math. So we just need to get a stop here, and then we see if we can work some magic here, get the rally caps out.
Coach James, you're managing FAMU right now. You're down six to
Mhm.
four, bottom of the eighth. Missed opportunities, left men on base. Is there the saying timely hitting is so important? Because Coach Kador made the point. What's his name? Joe. Was it Joe? Oh, Clark. I think played at Montreal. You know he
Mhm.
he didn't have a great batting average, but he just had great timely hitting. How important is timely hitting in a baseball game? And you're managing FAMU right now, coaching them. What what do you tell your team down 2 runs in the bottom of
Well,
the
well,
eighth?
right now it's just about getting out of the inning with no further damage, and giving yourself a chance. It's easier to score 2 than to score 3 in the ninth or fourth. Because you can get a bloop and a blast, and then now you're tied, in the ninth inning. One thing about FAMU, though, with them having an eight run that they've left on base, they do have the offense to be able to at any time put up 3 or 4 runs, and they've shown that throughout the year. So if I'm coach, I'm not really panicking right now at all because I'm actually playing with house money. Because like I told you before, if they can get past this game, then now the chips ships in their favor. Southern right now, they're doing everything they can to kind of hold that lead. But you also got to understand too, in the back of their mind, Southern has lost a lot of games late due to pitching. So this thing is not necessarily over. So if I'm FAMU, I'm not panicking at all right now. It's just about getting out of this inning without giving up any more runs.
Right. So the bottom of the eighth, FAMU comes up at the top of the ninth. Southern's got to defend that two-point lead. At this point, I'm thinking, guys, you bring in your closer if that's if they have such a pitcher or pitchers. But right, coach, you've got to really get that closer in there, and you definitely don't want to. You got to throw strikes, and you don't want to give up any walks. Walks on base, hit, and you can very well find yourself in a tied ball game.
Yeah, then you got to also understand these are kids, man. This is not pro ball. You know, these are kids, and they've been in Birmingham a whole week. You know, they played a lot of baseball, and and a lot of things start to creep into your mind. You know, that happened during the regular season when you get to this point. You know, so again, if I'm FAMU, I'm not panicking at all. If I'm Southern, you know, you got to kind of have a little bit of, you got to try to score a run here. You got to, because you know, as well as I do, Carlos, you know, seeing Southern pitching, it's kind of shaky on the back end right now.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. I've got to take a deep breath. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because FAMU is coming up. Southern
Going
didn't
to the
score any
ninth.
runs in that one. It's top 3 outs, and Southern advances to the championship. Coach, we got to ask you before you get out of here. Your baseball team, of course, you've had some health issues this year, and by the way, you're looking a lot better. UAPB baseball, great facility, great stadium. What are your plans are for moving the program forward and to, hey, next year, look, we want to be in contention for the Western Division and the SWAC baseball championship.
But we have to have I'm going to have a long discussion with my new AD, which is my 10th AD since I've been here 12 years.
Wow.
It's for us, it's about, getting our administration part together, being able to hire another assistant coach, being able to get fully funded. Like when of those things are going to happen to where we can get some type of continuity? Because like we have all the bones, like you alluded to. We have the stadium, we got all the aesthetics that looks good, but we don't have the structure. We don't have a recruiting budget and things like that that's going to sustain us over a long period of time. And look at me, man, it's wearing on me. We had that run from 13 to 15 that we were pretty good, but I think we caught the league by storm. And then they figured out like, oh, we got more resources than they have. So you can't just always outwork people, and all that trying to, put what you call rob Peter to pay Paul to make things work. That don't always get it anymore, So we have to come up with a concrete plan going forward to say, UAPB is going to make a commitment to its baseball program that matches the way the stadium and it's perceived on the outside.
Bryan, couldn't every baseball alums, fans, supporters, sounds like resources, the little things. Can't everybody in the conference make the argument? Some have more than others, but some or all could use more resources to
Oh,
fund
definitely.
the baseball programs.
Definitely. And that's where we get into the discussion about, that's where these broader discussions start happening about um, expanding or bringing in more dollars into our athletic departments so that it can lift all the departments up, And so while we may scoff and we kind of hear some coaches who are out there advocating and saying and pushing harder for more television right dollars and things of that nature, there's a reason, because all of those dollars go into the athletic budgets, which then help all the programs rise. But I think I think it's inherent. One of the things that we've been preaching on our show, just from a FAMU perspective, but it probably applies to everybody, is we have got to engage our alumni to ask our administrations to say, what are we doing? What is our financial plans? What is our plans? Why are we doing things the way we're doing them? And why haven't we been doing X, Y, and Z? I mean, look, we all understand that a lot of our schools have been denied millions. If you read some reports, billions of dollars, right? And just imagine, sometimes I was looking at that survey that came out from, I was in Forbes about the billions of dollars that were denied certain schools, and I almost got a tear just thinking about, man, what would my university look like had they not been denied $1.4 billion, you know? But we're all in the same situation. And so we've got to be creative, but more importantly, we've got to have the alumni. The alumni have to start asking and putting the pressure on the presidents and the athletic directors. If you're in a situation where you're dealing with a board of trustees or whatever you call them in your state, you got to start asking people these questions and saying, what are we doing to improve programs across the board? Not just the baseball program at UAPB, but also the softball program at Southern, or it could be, you know, the tennis program and golf program at FAMU. I mean, across the board, we've got to be lifting everybody up, and it starts by getting money and first off, getting the right people in place that can make the right financial decisions to sort of grow what we have at stake. So yeah, everybody's in that same boat. But I tell you, our alumni have got to be smarter and have got to be asking the questions. We can no longer just sit by and watch and say that's because that's how it's been done. And no, we can no longer continue to do that. And that's why I continue to ask people, ask why. When they say, well, this is what we're doing, why? Why are we doing it this way? Why aren't we doing it that way? I mean, and I think those discussions continue. They need to be had. They need to be had more often.
Well, excellent commentary there, Coach James. Also, just to add a little bit onto it, and Bryan talked about it, having the right people. You know, and I've often said, you know, it's academics first. I understand that, but athletics and academics go hand in hand. And coach, you've got to have a president, chancellor, slash a board that that believes in that concept and have to be athletic friendly. You know, 2022, we're still talking about the same things that we were talking about 2016. The baseball program, it can really across the board in the conference, but can do very well outside the conference. But it's got to have the resources and investment into the programs. But man, having an athletic director, you know, and a president, a chancellor that's athletic friendly, that can only help. So, coach, uh, that conversation you're going to have. Hey, I understand because it's got to be the right investment and resources. Coach, final closing comments if you have some for us.
Well, you know, my thing is what most HBCUs have to understand now: athletics is your front door now. We're no longer academics is not our front door anymore because our PWIs and everybody else is competing for our students now, and they're letting our students in. There's no longer those days where, you know, black students have to come to HBCUs, and I think we're behind in that aspect in our thinking, and we got to understand that athletics is your front door. Everybody wants to be a part of a winner. You know, I can guarantee you if you look at enrollment, I bet it's shot up tremendously, you know, since they've won in football and had some success and have all this publicity going on, you know, and I can assure you Gramblin's is probably going to go up, and so is FAMU with the success Willis Simmons has had. Southern has Coach Dooley back, you know, the darling of Baton Rouge. He's back in town. Their enrollment going to go up, but you got to look at those things now from a HBCU perspective that athletics is now your front door. and you got to fix up your house. Just like he was saying, financially, we have to do things better. Coach Prime has said that many times. We have to stop doing things the way they used to do, or this is how we've always done it, and we have to start to do things the right way from a financial standpoint, because everybody has basically taken advantage of us, the HBCUs on the financial side. So we have to be better at that. And it's not only going to help sports, but it's going to help our academics as well.
Well, speaking of better, do my eyes deceive me? The bases is
No,
loaded
they don't. No,
for
they don't. Yes, they
FAMU
do, Carlos.
and no
The rowdy,
outs. Oh, unbelievable.
the rowdy
Unbelievable,
I
caps.
told you.
coach.
The
I
rowdy
told
caps
you.
are out. Let's go. The rowdy caps.
I
Here
told
we
you.
go.
To your
But
point,
don't
Coach
panic.
James, you said the pitching on the back
You called
end,
it.
and well, and fundamentals had a chance to turn at least try to attempt a double play. The throw to second, a little bit offline, and the second
Shortstop's hurt
baseman
too.
dropped it. Yeah. Oh boy, this could be devastating. Well, Coach, we appreciate you joining us. Interesting.
Oh no,
2020
we
SWAC
gotta leave
tournament
coach on. We
coming.
gotta leave coach on. Coach is some good luck right
No,
now. Coach,
no,
don't go anywhere.
no, we can't.
Don't go anywhere.
We can't. Up, there's a base hit. Could score 2 runs. Could FAMU, I think it's just taking the
Let's
lead.
go. Come on. Come on.
Oh boy, they're fired up too.
Oh
Seven to
yeah.
six,
Let's go. Let's
2 run
go.
I
single.
told you. Hey,
Good
Yeah,
call,
I
coach.
told you. I'm just underfunded. I can still coach.
yeah. I understand, Coach. I understand. Brian, quickly, Brian, quickly tell everyone how they can watch the show, days and
Yeah.
times, and then I'm going to end this segment. I'm not feeling
Nah,
too
look,
good.
Carlos is like he's got to get out of this quickly. Hey, definitely the ONG Strike Zone comes on every Wednesday night, 8 to 10 o'clock on the Black College Sports Network. We talk about all things FAMU athletics and culture. And then of course I do the Sunday night show with AD Drew, who I know you got coming up here a little bit later. We do the sports wrap every Sunday night. 6 p.m. Eastern, 6 to 8, where we just kind of opine about all things involving HBCU. So even though he's a rattler, we talk about everything and everybody. And so yeah, it's a good day to be a rattler. But I told you we're gonna play 2 today, Carlos. I told you we're gonna play 2 today, and so we just got to see what happens later in the afternoon. But yeah, so ONG at ONG Strike Zone on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And of course, the BCSN Sports Wrap is a part of the Black College Sports Network.
Well, Brian and Coach, it's all the HBCU family. We love to compete and beat each other on the athletic playing field. But at the end of the day, we're all family. And that's the way I look
Love
at
being a
it.
part of this swag.
And
Love being a
Brian,
part of
yep,
this swag. This is great.
Brian, it ain't over to the third out. But
Yes, sir.
if FAMU with a 7-6 lead, no outs, man on second and
Come on.
third, more damage could be done. Now, Ralph says now you're seeing how this midweek pitching
Hey,
has
here's the thing.
inserted
Before we
Southern
go,
University, the
Carlos.
midweek pitchers. Yes, sir.
Hey, the pitching thing is going to be real interesting because as I was looking at FAMU's pitching, and I don't know if you've looked at Southern's, I don't know if Coach will do this, but he's got one guy that he hasn't pitched yet, a young man named Jeremiah McCullum. He played 19 times, 19 appearances. He started one game real early in the season. It was one of those midweek games. Unfortunately, the starting pitcher today was the guy who's the midweek pitcher, and he didn't do too well. So I don't know if we're going to see him again later, but we may see a combination of him and McCullum, and it makes, so Southern, it'll be interesting to see what Southern does. Any chance Southern brings out their ace today, this afternoon?
Coach, I'm going to defer to you, Coach James. What
They're
does Southern do?
They're out. They're out. They're out. They're out.
Out of pitching.
Again. Yeah, it's going to take a heroic effort from someone that has pitched already this week. That's probably really sore. But again, I don't think they can hold FAMU's offense. I think you're going to get a blowout game by one of those teams in that second game.
Southern
What's the
just
pitch count?
got a double
What's the
play
pitch
there.
count rule, Coach? What's the pitch count rule that most coaches usually go by?
Well, you want to stay within between 120, especially at this time of the year, about pitches. But we've seen guys go 139, 140, because there is no tomorrow. You know what I mean? So you can potentially get some guys go to 140 if they're doing really good, because they're probably better than what you got to bring in anyway at this time in the tournament.
Well, I put in my notes quality versus quantity. Sometimes you need both, Coach. Boy, Southern just got a good double play to stop any more bleeding.
That was huge.
Force out at home, and then got the run at first. So 7-6. FAMU still
Two runners
batting,
in
2
scoring
outs.
position.
Yep, second and third, top of the ninth. Well, guys, we're going to have to take a timeout. My next guest is going to talk some NBA playoffs. I was feeling pretty good. Southern undefeated in the SWAC tournament. My Miami Heat, everybody had them on death's door. They had the obituary, and they pull off a heroic. Yeah, you're a good man, Bryan. At least in the NBA. And now they got to.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
That's a pretty tight spot.
Watch this.
Of course your Buick parks itself. That's so you.
It's just up here on the right.
Of course you know where we're going. That's so you.
Kind of got a sixth sense.
And a head-up display.
They're here.
Hit the field, warm up. You brought all these players in your Buick?
Yeah,
So you.
it is.
There's a Buick that fits your life, because at the heart of every Buick SUV is you.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplified Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplified Development Services.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show. Watch exclusively right here on the Black College Sports Network. Boy, I almost got to change my hat. I wanted to do it for this segment. I'm joined now by Coach Vann Pettaway, the Coach Brown Show's basketball analyst. Coach, good afternoon. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine, Carlos, but I know you got to really be having a great day after what your Heat did last night. So you got to be in hog heaven today.
Well, Coach. You know what? I feel good about it. Game 7, you just don't know what's going to happen. This has been a series where you had lopsided victories by both teams. More so, Boston Celtics. Both teams defensively are really good, especially the Celtics. The Heat, not a bad defensive team either. You've had injuries to affect both teams. Now it comes down to Game 7, and boy, I had to stop watching the national shows, the prognosticators. They all talked about they had the obituary for the Miami Heat, and I must admit, it did look bleak. It did. I mean, both teams have lost home games, multiple home games in this
Yep.
series. Both teams have won multiple games on the road. But from Stephen A. Smith to everybody, basically, Bruce Hart, they all had the Miami Heat. They wrote their obituary. But like Lazarus, they rose from the dead.
Yes, they
Coach, your
did. They did
thoughts
not.
on
That was a great game. That was a great game.
oh
Jimmy
my.
Butler is showing people that he is one of the top players in the league. He had an outstanding game. But I think a lot of times people look at the guys that's doing all the scoring. But I think a big key to last night's win, Kyle Lowry he settled down and had a good game. He was a great quarterback on the floor last night. I think he ended up with like 10 assists. So, he got the ball to people that needed to get it. And when he's on the floor, Miami has a real transition game because he's always looking ahead. And when you can get those easy baskets, see, I tell people all the time, you in transition, if you can score without playing against 5-on-5 defense, it's an easier brand of basketball. And that's really what he brings when he comes in the game. What he brings to the game for Miami. He pushes the basketball. He's always looking ahead. And when they get the basketball ahead, they normally score and have easy baskets. So you don't have to play against 5-on-5 against that half court defense because the Celtics are a pretty good defensive team. So getting those easy baskets, not turning the basketball over, and then of course Jimmy Butler just having an outstanding game. He had a great game. But now what's got me worried because he's still playing and he's not 100%. Will he have enough time for his body to heal and be ready to play? Because he played 46 or 47 minutes. So, that's a lot on his body, especially with you coming off of an injury. So I'm anxious to see if he's going to get off to a good start tomorrow. I think playing at home will help because I think their home crowd will energize them. But they've got to come out from the get-go. They got to let Boston know that, hey, you get nothing here today. That's the mentality they got to have for tomorrow.
and excellent points, Coach. And they've struggled at home. So getting off
Right.
to a great start. And like the last time we talked, I'm I'm going to put I'm going to call Bam out again.
Right.
I think he must play much better. And sometimes that, you know, great offense is run through a great defense. And as you talked about, getting out in transition. Also, the others. I think
Right.
they,
Right.
whichever others for either team, somebody has to come out and play well. To your point with Jimmy Butler and also Lowry. They've had to fight through injuries. How well will the recovery time be for them? I basically saw in the post game, basically treatment and rest, treatment and
Right.
rest. Both
Yep.
teams know each other now. It's about who can come out and execute. And then if some adversity hits, who can adjust? But I wouldn't want to have too much adversity. Excellent point, Coach. Whoever gets out and plays well at first and from start to finish, you're going to need that kind of effort. It's the 7th game. You don't need any more motivation. Got to
But
come
you
out
got
and
to
get
get
it
out the
done.
gate, though, Carlos. Carlos, they got to get
Yeah.
out the gate. I think the team that has the best start, I think that'll be the team that'll be able to overcome different situations in the game. See, it's always harder to fight from coming behind. So that's why you want to get
Mm-hmm.
off to a good start. And I think if the team that gets off to the good start, and I'm hoping that's Miami. Miami, I think they deserve it. I think they're showing the world that a lot of people have forgotten now. Miami is a team of champions too. They got, excuse me, they have championship DNA. Their coach is a championship coach. He's already won some titles, so they've got it. Some of the players that are on that team, they weren't there for those championships, but you got Father Time still there. You Donna Hannah's, he's still there, so he's able to tell the guys, what to expect. He's been in Game 7. He knows with the struggle of playing in the conference championship and what they're going to have to do to win the game. And then, of course, once they win it, now you playing against a very rested Golden State Warriors team. Because they're taking their time, so they're a little nagging injuries. They're going to have time to heal. But Miami, tomorrow, the Celtics in Miami, they got to go all out. There's no tomorrow. They got to play. They can't worry about minutes restrictions on anybody. They got to win that basketball game if they want a shot at competing for a championship. So I look forward to a great game. I think it's going to be a great environment on Sunday. During the week, when you play the early games in Miami, you got a late arriving crowd. And I think that has a lot to do with them getting off to slow starts. But I think the crowd will be wide open tomorrow. On Sunday, they don't have anything else to do other than the beach. So they're used to the beach. So they'll come in and they'll be in there on time. They'll be in there at tip off. And I expect Miami to come out and play like the home team. They got to
Yeah.
if they plan on winning.
Yeah, and it's a night game, and you're right about the crowd. Now, as far as and some of the national shows, some of the prognosticators talked about this. Boston has been to the Eastern Conference Finals several times in the last few years, but they haven't been able to make that next step from a middle standpoint. And they basically said Brown and Tatum and Horford, and Smart is they kind of suggested that maybe the pressure is going to be on Boston. Do you agree with that, Coach, or is the most pressure on the home team, Miami, or does Miami culture and experience can it help them in this situation?
I think there'll be pressure on both teams because no one wants to lose this 7th game. Uh, but if you were to look at it, I would feel that there's more pressure on Miami because they're playing at home. Uh,
Hmm.
Boston's they were one of the top teams. You got the two top teams uh, in the East playing, so they were expected to be there. So, but I think when you're playing at home, I think there's more pressure on you to perform for your home crowd and your fans. So if I had to put pressure on anybody, to me, I would think that Miami would be the one that would have a slight edge when it comes to game time pressure for the mere fact that the game is being played at their place. But both
Mm.
teams, in Game 7, they're gonna have the butterflies. Everybody's gonna be nervous. It's gonna take a while for everybody to settle down, and the team that settles down first and gets it going, I think they're gonna have an advantage.
Wow. Speaking of hearts of champions, Southern down to their last out. They got a man on first and second. The batter comes through with a single off the FAMU's infielder's glove, and now we have a tie game. Southern has come back again after having a lead, losing it to FAMU. Boy. Oh well, wait a
But
minute.
but
Wait a
but
minute.
Carlos, with
Yeah,
those
yeah.
guys, see, Not that
It's 7-7,
you
coach.
showing 7-7. Yeah, you're showing the resilience of those players because because of the rain here in Alabama, everything has been moved back. They're not playing at their normal times, and so uh, it just shows the great character that these kids have because they're battling, even though things are not normal. This is not a normal day for them. So that's good. That's a good testament to the coaching staff and also to the players uh, for having it in their heart and in their mind to go out and win despite of.
Yeah, never underestimate a heart of the champions. Rudy T,
Yep.
Coach Rudy T came up with that. Visiting with Coach Vann Pettaway here on the Carlos Brown show. On the other side, then I'm gonna come back and ask you about something else that some of the prognosticators talked about. One being the East has been a brutal defensive struggle, both teams. They, this one person thought that no matter whoever comes out of the East, it's going to be contrasting styles. A wide open Golden State team offense against a defensive team, either Miami or Boston. And he believed that the Eastern Conference representative would have the advantage. Whoa, that's a big statement. But with Golden State, they were able to win the series 4-1 against Dallas. Coach, what were your thoughts on this series, the Western Conference Finals?
Well, I thought Golden State once Phoenix was eliminated. I felt that Golden State would be the team to watch. In the beginning, I did have Phoenix winning it all, but after they went down, I knew that Golden State was the next best team in there. All they needed was some rhythm, and they seem to have their rhythm now. When you got 4 or 5 guys on the floor that can score the basketball, that makes it hard to game plan. That makes it hard to defend. So even though the teams in the East play better team defense, they haven't come across a team in the East that's got 5 scorers on the floor. So see, I think Golden State still is going to have an advantage because when you can bring people off the bench like Poole, who can really score the basketball, that makes it extremely difficult for those guys who's coming off of the bench to play against somebody like Poole, who could be somewhere else as a starter. I mean, this guy has game, and he's proven it throughout these playoffs. So it's going to be tough. Both Miami and the Celtics play great defense, but I just think Golden State has too many weapons, and if they're on, I don't think they're going to be able to handle them. I don't think their defensive pressure will overcome the offense that Golden State can generate.
Well, you heard it here first. Coach Pettaway believes Golden State, and I'm sure that once the finals are set, I think most of the experts will point to Golden State that they're going to win it, and you'll be able to break down the game, advantages, the pros, weaknesses. But for Boston and Miami, Coach, they've got to get through this game tomorrow, Game 7.
Yep.
Now Dallas, they've already lost. Okay, whoever loses Sunday night. As a organization, your team came this close to getting to the finals. Do you do a major overhaul, or do you just kind of look at adding some pieces? And then the loser of Miami and Boston. I'm already hearing some chatter about Miami, whether they make it and win it all, or if they don't make it, they're gonna have to, do some minor surgery on the team. How do you answer that? How, do you agree?
When you look at Dallas, Dallas has a pretty good team. They could add some pieces. See, they don't have to blow up their roster. What they got to do, they got to make people on their roster better. That everybody talked about Luka not being in shape. If that's the case, he needs to get in shape. He's their number one. He's their go-to guy. He's their leader. He needs to be leading by example. He should be in better shape than anybody else on that team. So if that's part of the problem, then that's easy to address. He can get that done in the offseason. But the he's got to have the mental stability to do that. Mentally, he's got to be into knowing that if I do this, it'll help my ball club. He's got to take that initiative and go ahead and get started. The money for him is not going to be an issue. He can hire whatever he needs. He's got to hire that person. So for Dallas, you don't blow the team up. You just add some pieces to it, get Luka in shape, and then next year, I think they'll see results. Now in the East, I don't think Miami or Boston can afford to blow their teams up. They need to keep their.
No.
They got good pieces. You've played consistent basketball all year, so I don't see a need to mess with any of the teams that are in the final in the conference championship. Golden State, win or lose, they got a good squad. The two remaining teams, they got good squads. You don't have to break them up. You just add pieces. Just add to what they have. And then, see, this series, the injuries have played. This is the first time in a while that the playoffs have been marred by so many injuries. In other words, you got people that you're down on, they're not on the floor. Like in Miami's case, Hero, they need him. They need his presence on the floor because even if he's not hitting the shots, they know that he can hit them, and that stretches the defense. They got to get out on him. Without him being on the floor, they can crowd and shade other people. They don't have to be as tight now on some of the other people because you got people like Hero who would stretch the floor. He's not out there, so that clogs things up. But in terms of the rosters, all these teams got to do is just add a couple of pieces, and I think they'll all be fighting again to get back to where they are this year.
I think Dallas, in my opinion, they need to add a rim protector, you know, for them.
But at
Miami
what cost,
probably,
though, Carlos? At what
well,
cost? See, if you go after one of the top rim protectors, you're not just going to get him for draft choice. You got to give up somebody on your roster. And right now, they need the pieces on their roster. If they can go after a veteran that can come in and help them, but going after some of these young guys, that's going to cost too much. I feel. I think it
mhm,
messes up their roster.
that's a valid point. But someone like maybe Andrew Drummond type, you know,
Right,
I,
right,
I
right.
understand. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I can see
just
that.
yeah, but yeah, and Mark Cuban has all the money in the world, but besides that, coach, I understand what you're saying, and it's got to be a good fit too. Um, with Miami, I kind of, and then I'll move on. I kind of worried about Duncan Robbins, you know, and for Hero, I think where he needs to probably get better offensively, got it going. You know, get better defensively, but Robinson is a liability on the court defensively. You kind of can see where during the regular season teams kind of picked on him. So there's conversations. Bradley Beal, Donovan Mitchell at Utah, adding a prolific two guard. But that's kind of the chatter what you're hearing. But coach, you are the coach, and I trust and respect your judgment and your perspective. Miami probably does need to add a little bit, but yeah. And now that you think about it, that's all. Add, not subtract.
Right.
And if you're gonna add, then you got to really do your homework. And who do you give up? And do they have the asset? Um,
Right.
what's the word I'm looking for? Do they have something that someone else would want in a a sign and trade or what have you, the pieces. So it's going to be interesting. That's why it's important that your management that they have their pulse on everything and their decisions that they make is crucial.
Right, because everything is based on the salary cap, and the people that you're naming, like somebody like Donovan, there's no way they're gonna be able to put him on that staff without giving up. I mean, I'm put him on that team without giving up some of the assets that they currently have. Because you're gonna have to move some big contract to get somebody like Donovan Mitchell, who probably is gonna be close to $40 million. That's too much money to invest in a guy because you would have to be giving up too much, too many other players to get somebody like him in there. But if you go to these free agents who are what they call the second
Unrestricted.
level free agents, right? Then you got an opportunity of getting somebody in without breaking the bank, without messing up your current structure. So in the NBA, everything is based on that doggone salary cap. The numbers have to fit, and the numbers
Yeah.
come with the players. So that's why certain players will not be a good fit for certain teams because they make too much.
Yeah, and that's gonna be interesting. Last but not least, the Lakers have a new coach, stamped and approved by LeBron James. Somebody was being facetious. They was like, "Well, maybe he could do like Bill Russell did, player coach."
Well, I'm
But
gonna tell
Mister
you
Ham,
something. But look, if LeBron likes him, that means that he's already talked to him and he's already told Ham that you do
of
know this is my team,
course.
right? Yeah, you do know this is my team. So I'm running it. They just got you down as the head coach.
Hmm. Yeah, well, it's not the first time a player has had influence on management and the coaching. I could think of Irvin Magic Johnson with Norm Nixon.
Yep.
So this is nothing new, but
Yep.
what it does, it puts all extra eyes. You already had eyes on that organization, but now, but where do they go? I still think Mr. Davis, he's a key. LeBron is on his way, you know, out as far as a basketball player. Father Time is undefeated. There are conversations now that Anthony Davis they may move him. It's still not a tough play. It's not a. It's a tough place to coach at it. Still, coach.
Oh yes, oh yes. Anytime you coach with somebody like LeBron who wants to have so much input, there's a fine line between the player and that head coach. So that some people can navigate that, some can't. Some people would not. Some coaches are not going to put up with the things that LeBron wants to do. He wants too much control. Some coaches see it that way, but uh, roster wise, see they're messed up. Who they gonna move? Nobody wants to pay Westbrook all that money
Big
to bring him on their
contracts.
team. Right, right. Big contract. Then you look at Anthony. Do you want to make an investment in a guy who may or may not be able to play a whole season? See, all that comes into play.
Hmm. Maybe that
That's why they
roster
were
is
saying,
going.
right. That's why they were saying LeBron really is the only asset that they got that could be tradable.
And I don't think they would trade him. But
Nope.
I've heard people say, maybe you should because he still has a tremendous amount of value at that age. But wow, that's going to be a interesting situation to uh, to see what the Lakers do and the roster as is now. It's not a championship roster. It's
Correct.
not
Correct.
just in my humble opinion. So we shall see, Coach. Any plans for Memorial Day Monday? Barbecuing, fishing, or just relaxing?
Well, I did the fishing yesterday and got out there, and the wind got up and started white capping. So I had a pretty good day on the water and had to come off early because of the winds. And then later on tonight, I'll be in Birmingham for the SWAC alumni banquet. And so I'm going out of town, and then Monday it'll all be about the family. I'll be at home, be at my house, just chilling.
Well, let me tell you this. A good friend um, of the significant other gave us some speckled trout, and you're talking about fresh. The things you can do with speckled trout and in South Louisiana, I'll just put it this way. I'm going to have some right after this show. How about that? You're talking about fresh, and you can be very creative with the sauce and all of the fixings that go with it. Oh, nothing like fresh fish, Coach.
Yep, nothing
Fresh
like it.
fish.
Nothing like it.
So if you ever want to UPS or FedEx me some fresh fish, you have my permission to do so, Coach.
All right, Carlos. That's a good one.
Next week, hopefully we'll have the new basketball coach at Alabama A&M on the show. You're working for that to happen behind the scene. I appreciate that as well. And Coach, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and you and your family stay and continue to stay safe and stay blessed. Final comments? I think you wanted to say something about the new coach at Alabama A&M.
Yeah, he's already confirmed. We'll have him. I'll hook you guys up this week. He's excited about it. He's looking forward to it. So you'll be able to get him on after you set up, the times and everything. So I think you'll enjoy conversating with him. And as far as anything else, I'm just looking forward to the game tomorrow. I'm hoping that your Heat can pull it out. They're playing at home, and so they got to go for it. Not only are you a big fan, but my youngest grandson is a big Miami Heat fan also. So Grayson expects them to win the game tomorrow, so they better win for Grayson's sake. And
yeah,
guess what? And it's been great, and I hope the best for you tomorrow with the Heat, and everybody be safe and God bless.
Well said, Coach. And if not, I'm gonna be an angry and disappointed man. Boy, fam, you just scored. I think they've just taken the lead in the top of the 10th. Southern's under the gun again, and first and third with 2 outs. Top of the 10th, FAMU pushes across a run. Wow, got to put on the rally caps, Coach. But appreciate you for coming on. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk next Saturday.
All right, thank you. Talk to you later.
All right, that was Coach Vann Pettaway here on the Carlos Brown Show. Going to take a quick timeout. Scheduled to go live to Birmingham, Alabama. Dr. Kenyatta Cavill and A.D. Drew will give us an update. I got one eye on the screen, one eye on the other screen. Unbelievable. FAMU up 8-7 over Southern University in the top of the 10th in the 2022 SWAC Tournament Baseball Championship in Birmingham. Take a timeout. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network.
The new GMC Sierra with hands-free driving offers the most advanced and luxurious pickup in its class. Yeah, it rocks.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
will give you just one measly entertainment subscription. One is no fun. With Verizon, there's up to 7 entertainment subscriptions with your unlimited plan. That's 7 times the... 7 times the... No! 7 times the... Music, gaming, Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus, and more. That's 7 times the entertainment! Because everyone deserves better. And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
For 5-star backyards, Yellowwood brand pressure-treated pine. If it doesn't have this yellow tag, you don't want it.
I think the name of that song played by the Jukebox is Black and Blue. And boy, since the break, 7-7, FAMU spots 4. 3-run homer. Now FAMU is up over Southern University as Southern University comes to bat. In the bottom of the 10th, FAMU up 11-7. It looks really, really blue. Let's go live to Birmingham with A.D. Drew and Coach Kenyatta Cavill, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, at the 2022 SWAC Baseball Tournament. Fellows, good afternoon. A big blast by FAMU. Now they're up 11-7. Southern University comes to bat in the bottom of the 10th. Can you hear me, A.D.? Well, apparently we're having a little technical difficulties there. With A.D. Drew and Dr. Kenyatta Cavill in Birmingham at the site of the SWAC baseball tournament. Boy, FAMU. And Coach James talked about it in hour number 1. He talked about the pitching, and Southern's pitching, he thought, in his opinion, was a bit shaky. And when they went into the bullpen, it did not fare well for Southern University. Unless they could come up with 4 runs to tie the game up, FAMU will defeat Southern University in the 2022 SWAC baseball tournament and championships here for Southern University. And what that means now, if FAMU holds on and wins this ball game, and it looks like they've got a great chance to do it, then FAMU and Southern will play again at about 3-ish this afternoon. Let's see if we can now go back to A.D. Drew and Dr. Kenyatta Cavill. Guys, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. I can hear you.
Oh, yeah. That is the Fangs. FAMU struck. They really struck for 4 runs in the top of the 10th. And it was interesting. I was telling the audience, Coach Carlos James, who was on the show in hour number 1, he said if FAMU can win this baseball game, they have the pitching to put themselves in a position to be very successful in the second game that Southern and FAMU will have to play. And he thought, in his opinion, Southern's pitching was not as good as FAMU, the depth and the quality. So, guys, you're there. It's been a great tournament so far. You had a lot of 1-run games. You had the weather delays. It played a big part, but you've had some great baseball being played in the tournament. AD and Dr. Cavill, your thoughts on the baseball tournament so far from the action you've seen?
I'll let you go first, Doc.
Yeah, it's been excellent. 6 of the games were run games. In terms of even the 7th was a 3-run game. And as you see, you have championship caliber games going on, a couple of multiple extra inning games, which is fascinating. But I think selecting the top 8 teams with Bethune-Cookman and FAMU coming in has paid off just like we thought in terms of the strength of this conference going up extraordinarily. So I think it's going to be fascinating. And I did get to hear the early versions of the show from the very beginning. A great show thus far, great interviews in terms of the dialogue. And I think Coach James obviously has the working knowledge, coaching from that perspective and watching from a different bird's eye, if you would. But I think at this point, when you got a team like Southern that is just used to winning in the history, that while there might be a question on the arms, there's not going to be a question in terms of the heart and how they're going to push through. So I think the second game, if FAMU is able to hold on what it looks like they are, you just get a pop-up in the deep letter center that will give FAMU their second out. So Southern is down to a single out to push this winner-take-all game this afternoon. But with that being said, I think you're just going to have that. You're going to have a literal fight as this old rivalry would have for those that have followed it so many years on the gridiron. I think you have that same type of fight and energy. It's just transferred to the grass, the diamond, as they would say.
Yeah. I concur, Dr. Cavill. You talk about those close games. There's a lot of parity, and it's parity, not mediocrity, because 7 of the 8 teams here in Birmingham came into this tournament with 19 or more conference wins on the season, and the number 18 had 16 wins. Dr. Cavill, Carlos, you guys have been around the SWAC a long time. When is the last time every team in the tournament was over 500?
You've never seen it.
Yes. Every team in this tournament was over 500.
Certainly not in the modern era. You just haven't seen it.
And you talk about championship pedigree, Dr. Cavill. I challenge Southern's championship pedigree with the fact that although it was in a different conference, in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, Florida A&M University
no doubt,
is the only institution in MEAC history to win the conference title from the losers bracket, having done it twice, once in 1992 and most recently in 2019. So this is a championship pedigree institution and program. It's just now switching conferences and bringing that championship mentality from the MEAC to the SWAC.
I want to make this clear before you ask your follow-up question. You're exactly right. When I was talking about Southern's championship pedigree, I was respectfully talking about Southern, and not that FAMU didn't have it.
Oh,
so
no,
I'm so glad that you brought that up.
I understand that.
Because you're right, that this game that we're seeing here talks about the level of these programs.
This game that we saw here.
Talking about what you just get a strikeout that guarantees that there will be a championship game.
Right, and to your point, both programs, they don't have to take a backseat to anyone.
Nobody. That's right.
And that's why in hour number 1 I talked about we kind of talked about the impact FAMU and Bethune as far as their baseball programs, what they would bring to the Southwestern Athletic Conference during the regular season, but now we even see it more so in this tournament atmosphere. And congratulations to FAMU. There will be another game, and wow, you got to look forward to that. Now, the next game, Alabama State and Bethune-Cookman, guys. How Bethune-Cookman's in the same position FAMU was in. Can they defeat Alabama State twice? I think they have an excellent opportunity, but what do you guys think?
Well, what you have going into this game, Carlos, you got Alabama State's Sunday starter going up against Bethune's midweek starter. Should be advantage Alabama State, except for the fact that when you look at his last outing against Alabama A&M, he only lasted just over an inning against Alabama A&M and is coming off of 6 days rest. So we're going to see the rest versus rust factor. And then also the fact that his last outing was not that good. Now, Alabama State did pull their pitchers early on on Thursday and Friday, so they should be available for some key outs and possibly an inning or two if needed. Alabama State's trying to get out of here in one. They know they have two to get one, but they're trying to go ahead and wrap it up. And last point about Bethune, Bethune, FAMU, both of these teams are trying to be the first one to win a conference title in both the BAC and the SWAC. And wouldn't it be ironic if both of them come from the losers bracket
Yep.
and play for the
For a
SWAC
championship.
title in their first year?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, you talking about those folks in Florida to close out the academic year, they would have it in terms of the social media platforms. We can step away for a week because it's going to get ugly. But that means that they become officially swackish if that happens, because they will talk more noise than any of us will ever hear. But to your point, I think this matchup is going to go down to what I like to look at in these games. Who is able to get it done with the 2 outs? Can you get that third out if you're on the mound in the field of play? And if you're on the offensive side of the ball, can you produce that RBI? Can you produce that extra hit that sets up the next RBI? That's one of the biggest things that I've seen in college ball at basically every level that really differentiated from professional ball. Professional ball, you see an error, but it doesn't really cost the team in terms of what happens. And when they get to 2 outs, you might even get a hit, but they close teams out. In the college ball, who's able to navigate that space the best tends to be the team that wins. So we tend to focus on pitching because it's so obvious and it's there. And you just don't know how a young man comes into a game. So it's hard to really look at their ERA or what they did over the last week, as you pointed out, which is a great indicator of what they did over the season, because now you're in a different mindset. You don't know how they slept. You don't know what's going on with the family, and they don't have the professional disposition to kind of focus stuff in. So those are the things that you really don't get to know as media pundits, if you would, trying to cover these games. That's the differential that you don't quite to get. So I really like to look at just technical aspects about how do players weave themselves in and out of certain plays. And the dynamic I like to look at is the 2 out guideline.
That third out is so difficult sometimes. How many runs are scored with 2 outs? We've seen that throughout baseball, and you've seen it specifically in this tournament. Coach Kadar talks about timely hitting. Some batters have a high RBI, a batting average, but how can you get the timely hits? And then he talked about putting the ball in play. Certain things have to happen. You have to be fundamentally sound. So with all that being said, I'm going to go out on the limb. My big prediction, I think Bethune-Cookman gets it done and forces a second game. And if I'm wrong, I'll blame it on Charles Edmond. How about that?
I was messing with Charles earlier today, and I told him, look, I know you only want to call one game today, but as a Rattler, I'll need you to be here for that second game today, because he will be on the play-by-play for the second game. So once we get off of here, I'm going to see. I don't know if he's going to go back to the hotel and rest up or if he's going to hang around here, but I got to tell him that FAMU Jinx is working real good on him right now.
And tell him that prediction about a high-scoring tournament hasn't been as high-scoring as he thought it would be. But, hey, that's just predictions. I want to ask you about this, specifically Dr. Cavill, but also you too, AD. Coach James, I wouldn't say breaking news, but he talked about the expansion of the tournament. And I know he's on the committee going to expanding the tournament to 10 teams. Then he also talked about eventually more competition between the Eastern and Western Division, in a 3-game series. But get your thoughts on the tournament, perhaps expanding as quick as next year. 10 teams. That means 2 teams won't make it, of course, and then the the divisional winners will get a bye.
Yeah, I'm glad that y'all flushed that out and asked, who would get the bye. And they said the number one seed. That does put some value in getting that number one seed. Obviously, 1 year is hard to make a data point, but from this year, it was clearly that the top teams were the top 8 teams, the top 4 teams in each division. And obviously, that might slightly change from year to year, so you can make some adjustments. I have some concerns that if you open it up to 10 teams, that you're going to get at least one team in there, if not 2 teams in there that are not really strong. You know, Drew talked about the fact that you had these teams with 18 wins and all of them with over 18 wins and only one with 16 with winning records. You go to the 10th team, it's highly likely that one of those teams, if not both of the teams, won't have winning records. So I think it dilutes it. I will give the point, from a business perspective, I did like the fact that he shared that it may provide the conference with a better business deal because you bring in more teams. So that is something that you do have to consider that I would like to see flushed out. But right now, in my opinion, I would like to see it stick with the 8 teams and kind of see how that goes for a couple of years.
I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach, but I'm going to side with the yes, this may be a good thing for the conference. It also sets up that your better team, your best team, will be your representative because your division winners, your East winner and your West winner, where their pitching will be set because that number 2 seed will have to go one day deeper into their pitching. And we all know pitching is the key to winning the tournament. So you have more of a chance to set up where your 2 number ones play each other in the conference championship game, which in theory should mean the SWAC is sending its best team to the NCAA tournament. You're going to see, I think, fewer and fewer 3 seeds wind up winning the SWAC tournament by getting that early day 1 upset and then riding their pitching out because that number 1 seed, their number 1 will be going against your number 2 on day 2 of the tournament. Advantage should be to the number 1 seed, and so forth and so on. They should always have a 1 spot pitching advantage throughout the tournament.
That's a good point, but I would push back and say now you're going to have your 2 versus your 5. And if your 5 is the team that barely got in the tournament like we've seen this year, I would argue you would see what went back what we've seen in the
midweek guy.
You start your midweek guy. We've seen that play out when the 4 seed was in the tournament and the 4 seed wasn't a very good team. The number 1 seed would not throw their ace in that game.
Let me throw this. Would they do it like that, or would they make 4 and 5 play each other? For almost like a play-in type situation. I'm just throwing out some different scenarios.
Well, and I
that still gets you 10 teams there, but I'm just thinking
if they
out
play
loud.
it as a play-in, then it's 4 or 5, and that could be interesting. But usually in it they do it's 2-5. But that's going to be interesting to see.
When you look at
that would change the dynamics. As it's 4 or 5, they're going to throw their ace to try to get in the tournament, and then you have your 2 versus your 3. And those teams are so close that they're probably both going to throw their ace. Yeah. So it would make the number 1 seed in a position of strength and have to sit on their ace before they threw them.
Yeah. When you look at a true 5-team double elimination, so I'm really interested to see the format. That I've done enough youth basketball, youth baseball, where that 5-team bracket gets real funky because when you get to day 3, if one team has played one less game than the other one, no matter what they record, they have to play and all that kind of stuff. It can get real funky as far as trying to determine how this works in a true double elimination format.
Right. I don't want to get too academic in this, but I want to bring it back to Carlos James, though. This brings in enough of the dynamic because I think we got to be careful that we're automatically saying that because I don't know if they're depending on the team. Some years there's not going to be much differential between a number 1 and a number 2.
Correct.
In some cases, even a 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I'm talking about your pitchers on a weekend.
Yeah.
You might just have the ace. I know back in the day, when Coach Robinson came over to Prairie View, there really wasn't much difference between the 1 and 2 pitcher when they were going back-to-back championships. there was some drop off to get to the
1 and
third.
1A.
They were 1 and 1A. You could change them out. They just threw out the rotation, and that's kind of how it started off, and it worked, so they kept with it. But in the tournament, there was no differential to them. So I think that's where you get into where Carlos James talked about you may see the SWAC starting to move to where they get a deeper pool of pitchers based on kind of what they've seen taking place with Bethune-Cookman and FAMU. And you've seen maybe Alabama State kind of went in that direction. Alabama State, in terms of years, had known for having deeper pitchers, but it really hadn't helped them for success in the tournament. They've only had one championship in terms of championship tournament. Now, they finally got it done a couple of times, but it was a 4, 5, 6, 7 years before they would win a championship. So there's some cause for breakdown to say just how much bigger the pitching matchups is over the hitting. I'm not there. And even this year, it's clearly that the East has been stronger in terms of defeating the West. But let's look a little closer at the numbers. Those games where you saw that first 2 days, where you had those matchups, they were 1-1 games. It wasn't like the East just dominated them. They won, and you give them credit for that, but the margin of error was this slim. So I think sometimes we need to slow down and really look inside the numbers.
I tell you what, it's not been slim though, Dr. Cavill, in this tournament. And Carlos, you've had to be. I know you've been watching as much of the tournament as you can, but there've been a couple moonshots here that have not been on camera. And I know we saw one, the grand slam off the scoreboard yesterday, off the video board. And then
we saw
the one that you saw today, you did not see it today. You had to be here. There's a garage like warehouse out in right field, and it's got one of those V-shaped roofs. The ball hit the top of the roof and bounced over and landed on 3rd Avenue. I guarantee you that ball was hit 4 1/4.
Yes,
and
it hit on the backside of the roof.
And it one hopped to 3rd Avenue, which is probably maybe about 475, 500 from home plate. That's how far that shot went. Matter of fact, it was hit so hard because Cavill and I were sitting next to each other, and he said a few words. I said a 4-letter word when he hit it. Oh, you know what? And nobody on the field moved. That's how hard and how far they knew that ball was going. It was just turn and watch it.
The shot heard around Birmingham. You guys have been having a great discussion going back and forth. Quality versus quantity as far as a pitching. And also, I think if we're talking, if this takes place, moving to a 10-team tournament and the number 1 seed is getting a bye, I think it puts even more emphasis on doing well in the regular season to kind of earn that bye for what it's worth. So it's going to be interesting. We'll have to follow up with Coach James and see talk more about this potential 10-team tournament. We got some people in the chat room. At least one said that keep it at 8 teams. He would like to see it at 8.
I like it at 8. But if you're going to do it, bring all 12 teams, do the SEC format. The SEC has a 12-team tournament, and day 1 is a single elimination to get you down to the 8. Where the top 4 get a bye, the other 8, the other play in a 1-game winner take all to get you down to the 8. Then it goes to a double elimination, then back to a single elimination. So if you're gonna do that, you're gonna bring 10. Hell, bring all 12 of them. Let's have some real fun.
Oh, AD, I can't vouch for all 12 now. But 10.
well, I know what you're gonna say, Carlos. You're gonna have concerns about the competition. I'm going to go back to the business side of it and then get you to kind of chime in on this. Now you're talking about really the cost exploding when you talk about that. Because you got to remember, again, school is out. So you got to house all these extra teams. You got to feed them. So you're talking about exponentially increasing the cost for a lot of folks that need to go back to work about making sure they improve their teams in the first place.
Which
That's
means
a valid point.
Valid point. We need to fund these baseball teams so that you have some competitive baseball teams. But that's a discussion for a different show, Carlos.
Well, that's what Coach James said in his closing. Specifically, he talked about UAPB and getting the resources and having to sit down with his director of athletics, and he said this is his 10th one in his 12 years. Wow! But that's a conversation he has to have, and he needs to have. And then I added that each institution in the conference, as far as the baseball program, some have more than others, but I think all of them would say we need more resources and more investment. And wait a minute, who is that? Who is
That's
that
Michael
I see
Coker.
on there?
The one other than
The one
Michael
and only
Coker.
Michael Coker.
How you doing, Michael? how you doing, sir?
All right. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine. I'm sure you enjoy.
80 is allowing me to squeeze in for a minute to hear you.
Oh, that's quite all right. I love it. And you're a baseball guru. You got to be enjoying yourself at the 2022 SWAC Tournament Baseball Championship. You're enjoying yourself, I'm sure, Mike.
Yeah. Here's some facts. The first four games of the tournament were all decided by 1 run.
Yes, sir.
That's SWAC baseball. Number 2 is we had 2 blowouts yesterday, and this one was it went extras, but it was almost decided by 1 run as well. We went into the bottom of the 9th, 7-6. Southern tied it up, so this has been one really good tournament. There hasn't been any issues with the play on the field.
None
Great
whatsoever. And Michael, how do you see the rest of this tournament going? Who will raise a trophy in your opinion at the end of the day? I know it's a lot of particulars that go into this, but hey, putting you on the spot there. When you come on the Carlos Brown show, that's what happens. Who you see hoisting that trophy up?
Well, I'm going to stick with my guns. I'm going to stick with Alabama State. I'm going to go with who I think dominated the conference during the regular season, who dominated the the SWAC during the regular season, who has pitching, who has not been exposed. I think my second team is, you cannot deny the defending 2-time conference champion Southern. If by any chance Alabama State is tripped up, we will have this conversation and go back to Southern.
Yeah.
I like it.
Wow. Back to back, Dr. Cavill, tournament champions, trying to go for a third one. It's going to be tough, but I had a dream, not that dream that the great Dr. King had, but I had a feeling FAMU just was. I would not be surprised if FAMU hoist that trophy. It was a huge victory, the last ball game, and then they got to play again. I would not be surprised. Dr. Cavill, same question to you. Who do you think will hoist that trophy?
Yeah,
Look
I
at
think
AD in the back right now.
I've always said it's always tough for expansion teams to come in a conference and win it in the first year in some of your major sports. So I think I would have to lean towards. I would have said before that game I would have led Southern, but I'm gonna go with Michael Coker, as he said. Alabama State, I think they get it done and have that extra time of rest, and it will bring out a little more, and they'll ultimately get it done against Southern tomorrow. I still think Southern will find a way to get it done tonight, though.
Good point.
I don't need to ask AD. I know who he believes is gonna take it off. FAMU. I just thought FAMU was a very dangerous team, and
they dangerous now. Don't get it twisted. They have more than a puncher's chance. They could easily find themselves in championship Sunday.
I think pitching going forward, the rest of the day and tomorrow, going to play a key factor in which team gets it done. Fellas, closing comments from you on this tournament in Birmingham, the 2022 SWAC Baseball Tournament Championship.
I'll go first. If Bethune wins today, my plans of going to the USFL game tonight will be shot because I will stay over here and watch some championship baseball. But I think if we got out of here, since it's only about a mile away to Progressive Stadium, I was going to go catch the USFL while I was here in Birmingham. But getting back to baseball, for the second game between FAMU and Southern, FAMU's number one starter, I believe, was ejected. I mean, excuse me, not FAMU. Southern's number one starter was ejected from the last game by the umpire. So
Yeah.
he won't be available in this afternoon's game, which he may have been able to give them an inning or two. Should be inconsequential come tomorrow, but that ejection, let's see if that comes back and plays anything, because there may be a out or two that he may have been needed tonight. And FAMU's bats have been hot. They've hit some timely home runs. They've got some timely hits that have allowed them to overcome some of the other mistakes that the Rattlers have been making, and some of the untimely hits that they have not been able to put together. So will that trend continue in game 2 today? That's going to be the question that we're going to have to sit back and watch. Can FAMU continue to win with the long ball?
Oh, I agree with you. FAMU has certainly showed some power at the plate. And so it'll be interesting to see, can they carry that on, especially as you get deeper in terms of the pitching arms and regarding Southern. And to your point, when 30 got thrown out of the game for arguing strikes, essentially is what we were able to glean from what we were watching, and it was right after the emotional home run. So it was unfortunate that they had that quick trigger, but I got to believe the umpires have done a very good job this whole weekend. The instant replays, they went there, and I don't think I recall but maybe one of them. And obviously I haven't been here for every second, but I've watched about 95% of the games. I only seen one overthrown. And so they've been really good in terms of calling these close plays and getting them right. So kudos to the umpires in terms of what they've been doing during this game. So you have to do it. But it'll be interesting, as you said. Was that an arm that would have been thrown tomorrow if they had won, which means he would have been out? Or do they get the benefit now that they have to play tonight, if they can find a way out of it, that he's actually eligible now for the championship game?
Assuming that they win.
So, yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's going to be interesting. Yeah. If they would have won, there's no doubt he wouldn't have been eligible for tomorrow for the championship game.
Correct.
Now that you got to play, right, he's not going to be eligible. So one way or the other, you knew he's not going to be eligible for a game. So it's going to be interesting to me to see does that now actually benefit them of having to play FAMU in this game instead of being able to not have him for the next game period.
Yeah. So Carlos, what are we gonna put on it? Dinner next time we see each other if my Rattlers go ahead and beat your
y'all got to put something on this.
I'm gonna be in Birmingham for SWAC Football Media Day, the winner can, yeah. And I'll just say this. I don't know if you noticed, but I've changed hats. I hope tomorrow, after it's all said and done,
I like that.
Southern will be having pictures on social media saying that they got it done. And then that Sunday night, the Miami Heat. Come on, Roy. I know you're smiling back behind the scenes.
Too much green in your life, Carlos. Too much green. Green for FAMU, green from the Celtics.
Doubt the Heat if you want to, baby.
Yeah, the Miami Heat. I hope
what they say. I know you love Houston when you come this way, Carlos. Tell them you've heard a coach with the Houston Rockets say, "Never underestimate the heart of a champion." You better use that line.
Yes, and Lazarus has come from the dead because all the prognosticators had the Heat buried. But you're right.
They did.
You know, the heart.
They did. I must admit, I sent you that text, and I was like, oh, boy. And I said on the show yesterday that Carlos is smiling on one side because Southern was doing well, but hurting on the other side because the Heat were down. I get back to the hotel and I was like, oh my goodness. Let me text him back real quick and apologize.
Too bad you can't delete the text.
It was sent.
No,
So no, I had to
yeah.
clean it up. Luckily I got it before he sent me back. So he was nice.
Yeah. Well, one way or the other, I'm going to either be happy or I'm going to be disappointed. But
Yeah.
I'm pulling for, of course, Southern University and the Miami Heat. But guess what? It's been a great tournament, guys. Some great baseball action. It's been a class act all the way through. The commentary, Charles and Santoria, also Coach Cato. What a walking encyclopedia. And if you guys get a chance to see him, tell him I said hello. And
We will.
it's just been a great tournament. Well, that's going to do it. Appreciate you
We'll
guys
see
for
you
giving
in
us
New Orleans next year, I know.
Oh yeah, that's right. The SWAC tournament is in New Orleans next year, and so I hadn't been to a SWAC tournament in a couple of years. Gotta represent the home state, and it should be another great tournament. It should be. Guys, enjoy the rest of your stay in Birmingham. Appreciate the update. Appreciate you guys, and have a great weekend and enjoy Memorial Day as well. We'll talk again real soon.
All right, we'll holler.
We'll holler.
All right. On that note, I want to thank Roy and all the guests here on the Carlos Brown Show. Roy Evans behind the scene, a FAMU graduate as well. Gotta love the HBCU family. Everyone who watched, don't forget, like, subscribe to the Black College Sports Network, Jericho Broadcasting Network, Carlos Brown Show. Follow us on Facebook as well, Twitter, all the social media platforms. For everybody involved, have a great rest of your weekend and enjoy your Memorial Day. And until next Saturday at 11 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network, peace and God bless.